Zelda dungeons. Think of them as handcrafted escape rooms, each carefully designed to make you try new things to unlock its secrets. It's like exploring a haunted house on Halloween night. You're drawn in by a mix of curiosity and regret, every turn holding a new surprise. Then you hear it, a distant scream, the hollow wail of Castletown's redeads, echoing through the darkness. It's followed by the scraping of chains, then silence, until something breathes behind you. The moon gaze, watching from the dark with that haunting smile. We love them for the same reason people enjoy horror films. We are drawn in by the darkness, the unknown, and what's lurking beneath. But finishing it brings the satisfaction of having faced our fears. Across nearly 40 years of adventures, some dungeons weren't just puzzles, they were straight up terrifying. This isn't just a ranking, we are diving deep into the twisted lore lurking in the shadows. The kind of secrets that crawled into my mind and kept me awake long after the game was over. You'll see the creepiest corners of Hyrule and hear the stories behind them. These are the top 10 scariest Zelda dungeons. I may have a bit of recency bias since I did finish this game 3 or 4 months ago. It was honestly such a fun and amazing game to play through. However, the concept behind it is terrifying. Don't let the cute 2D graphics fool you. Number 10 on our list brings us straight into the heart of Hyrule, and into a nightmare no hero should have to face. You've always thought of Hyrule Castle as your home, guarded by the royal army. At least it was. As you approach, you hear only a whispering wind. General Wright and Minister Left stand outside, pleading with the royal army to let them through. The soldiers snarl back, calling them imposters. Then, without warning, the ground cracks. A yawning rift erupts, and in an instant, the entire castle and town are consumed by a swirling abyss. Your home, your people, gone in an instant. You step into the rift, an otherworldly silence. Room by room, you search familiar halls now voided. Everyone you've ever known hangs motionless, drained of their souls, their eyes vacant. Even children float helplessly in the still world, their laughter replaced by an oppressive hum. The music here isn't a melody, it's despair that burrows in your bones. Your companion Tri even states, "Something about this feels even worse than what we've dealt with before," and you know they're right. You reach the throne room hoping for answers, but your worst fear awaits you. Your father, the king of Hyrule, floats lifelessly, his once warm gaze replaced by an empty stare and what seems to be blood dripping from his crown. As you sneak around, guards who once were to protect you now hunt you through the halls. You fight your way to the deepest chamber, only to confront twisted echoes of your friends and even your father, mocking you with hollow congratulations before their voices curl into venom. Hearing your own father vow to end you? That's a wound that cuts deeper than any master sword. Then Ganon himself shows up, but something isn't right. This isn't the Ganon we know. He has strings being pulled by a far greater malice, Noel. After a desperate battle, you free Tri's friends. And as you make your escape, a nightmarish creature erupts through the wall, reaching out to drag you into the void. At the last moment, Link appears, shoving the beast back. The monster retreats, but not without snatching Link away into the darkness once again. Hyrule Castle and its townspeople return, but Link remains captive. You know it's not over yet. This dungeon earns its spot not because of clever puzzles, but because it turns a cozy haven into a personal hell. It's a vivid reminder that in Echoes of Wisdom, the true horror isn't what you fight, it's what you stand to lose. And this is just a taste of the terror that awaits deeper in the list. Number 9 on our list, the Lightning Temple from Tears of the Kingdom, my personal favorite in this game. Before you even set foot inside, the Queen spawns outside the entrance. You and Riju must fight it, but then their queen retreats into the temple, luring you in. Yup, Totally not a trap. Inside, the atmosphere is oppressive. Electricity crackles through the corridors, and the puzzles revolve around activating 4 massive batteries that wake up ancient mechanisms. Meanwhile, more Gibdos pour from the walls, forcing you to juggle puzzle solving and survival. I feel bad for people who aren't good at multitasking, like me. So, what makes the Lightning Temple so scary? It's the Queen Gibdo boss fight. It is not a mere boss. She is a priestess, transformed by centuries of devotion into something hollow and insectile. Her hive is not a nest, it is a cathedral, built from the bones of those who failed the trial. Her strike is not rage, it's ecstasy, the sound of a soul consumed by divine torment. She is enormous. If you're afraid of bugs, do I have some bad news for you. Her face is worse than faceless. Hollow sockets stare right through you, and when her jaw splits open, it releases a scream so piercing it vibrates inside your skull until your thoughts scatter like insects. After fighting it for some time, she starts flying across the ceiling. She screams, not because she's in pain, but it's a command. It summons her swarm. From every crack and shadow they come. Hordes of Gibdo that drown you in a flood of claws and wings, stripping away any hope of escape. You have to work with Riju's lightning ability, waiting for her to charge up before you can even stun the queen. The slightest mistake and you're buried under the sand you stand on. Queen Gibdo is the embodiment of decay and authority fused together. Her bandaged, mummified frame hides a grotesque hunger for life. The desert aesthetic, mixed with electricity and ancient ruins, gives this dungeon a unique, haunting vibe, a blend of Egyptian myth and Gerudo culture. Ultimately, the Lightning Temple shows how modern Zelda games can still be scary, even with an open-world backdrop. Nintendo delivers intense, atmospheric dungeons that challenge you physically and psychologically, but it gets much worse. Number 8 on our list, the original Legend of Zelda on the NES. Carved into the heart of Death Mountain, Level 9 is not the final trial, it is the origin of all suffering in Hyrule. The rocks here do not crumble, they bleed. The walls are not built, they are grown, pulsating faintly with the rhythm that matches no living heart. It is shaped like a skull and contains a staggering 57 rooms. Seriously, how did people do this without a guide? To enter, you must assemble the entire Triforce of Wisdom, and when you do, an old man blocks your way with a cryptic warning. The enemies here are not mere monsters, they are failures, heroes who came before, twisted into forms of rage and despair. The Wizrobes whisper in ancient tongues, casting spells not to kill but to erase. The Like-Likes do not devour shields, they steal identity, leaving you hollow and unsure of who you were. Imagine being a kid in 1986, being inside this nightmare, knowing Ganon awaits. Inside, the difficulty spikes. Wizrobes and Lanmolas swarm the narrow corridors. You are half blind because every room looks the same. Hidden walls only open with bombs, and if you get lost, you might as well just reset your game and start over. And then, at the center, behind false walls and cruel mazes, lies Ganon. But this is not a beast, not a warlord. This is hate incarnated, a creature born from the collective agony of a kingdom that forgot its sins. He does not speak, he does not roar, he simply exists. A shadow that devours light, a hunger that cannot be sated. You cannot see him, not at first. He flickers like a bad memory. You swing blindly, hoping to strike truth in the dark. And when he dies, he does not scream. He vanishes, as if he was never real. You leave level 9 changed. The Triforce glows, but it feels cold. Zelda smiles, but her eyes are distant. The overworld music returns, but it sounds wrong. What makes level 9 scary isn't realistic graphics, obviously. It's the fear of the unknown. The limitations of the NES force you to imagine the horrors lurking beyond the walls. For many players, this was their first taste of true video game dread, and it set the stage for everything else on this list. Number 7 is a masterclass in deception. At first glance, it's beautiful. A serene, water-filled sanctuary dominated by a giant golden statue. Lotus flowers float and sunlight beams through the windows. You could almost meditate here. But then you descend. Beneath that serenity is an underworld of sewage and rot. The moment you slip below the waterline, the air turns heavy and the floor drenched beneath your boots. Sludge drips from the ceiling, the tiles are slick with muck, and the silence is broken only by the groans of cursed bokoblins dragging their rotting limbs. 1 minute you're in meditation garden, the next you're in Hyrule septic tank. Somebody call a plumber. Actually, don't. I'm broke. The designers drew inspiration from the Lotus Sutra. Enlightenment above, suffering below. You are forced to shuttle between heaven and hell. Cleansing water one moment, lethal sludge the next. It is disorienting and unsettling. And then there's the Stall Master. Picture a skeletal samurai with 4 arms who seem to have been waiting centuries just to test your swordsmanship. He blocks, parries, and laughs as you flail. When you finally shatter his bones and claim the whip, an Indiana Jones style lifeline that lets you yank levers and even tear enemy limbs off, you feel like you've earned a miracle. Also, it makes you feel like Spider-Man. But nothing prepares you for Kaloctos. At first, it's just another statue. Then it rises. It has 6 arms like an insect, and in each hand it carries a sword bigger than you are. Its grin widens, your pulse spikes. This is when the ancient Cistern stops being a temple and becomes a fever dream. You have to literally rip his arms off with your new whip and use his own blades against it. The clang of metal echoes through the chamber. That beauty meets horror duality is what makes the ancient Cistern so unforgettable. It lures you with tranquility before dunking you into a nightmare. It plays with your emotions and your expectations. And it proves that sometimes the scariest places aren't dark from the start. That's why this gorgeous, grotesque water temple earns our number 7 spot. And why you'll think twice before you ever trust a koi pond again. Our 6th slot is Snowpeak Ruins, a mansion frozen in time. The Snowpeak Ruins were once a place of warmth, laughter, and nobility. Now it is a vault, preserved not by time, but by grief. The second mirror shard lies somewhere on this snow-covered peak. Link discovers a mansion there. Inside, the manor is eerily intact. Furniture remains in place, meals half prepared, fires long dead. It is as if the inhabitants simply vanished mid-step. But they didn't vanish, they froze, not in body, but in memory. The mansion is now inhabited by Yeto and his wife Yeta. They are not the true residents, however, they are caretakers, drawn to the ruins by something they cannot name. Yeta's illness is not physical, it is spiritual. The mirror shard she guards is not corrupting her, it is awakening her. She begins to remember things she never lived. Her eyes glaze over with visions of blood on snow. The couple needs help restoring their home, but something is off. Yeta is ill and the mirror curse seems to be consuming her. You spend much of this dungeon wandering through icy halls, haunted kitchens. The kitchen is the most disturbing actually. It's not the mess, it's the stillness. The food rots, but the air remains stiff like the smell of regret. The recipe was never meant to nourish, it was meant to bind. As you continue down the halls, you meet Darkhammer. He wields a massive ball and chain. After you defeat him, you get to keep the weapon, using it to smash through walls and break frozen enemies. The concept of turning a weapon of oppression into your tool is somewhat satisfying. But the true horror is the final fight. Yeta leads you to her bedroom, only to be overtaken by the mirror shard, transforming into Blizzetta. The corrupted form of Yeta is not a monster, she is a mourning spirit, frozen by sorrow so deep it reshaped her body. Her screams are not of rage, they are of loss. The mirror shard did not possess her, it showed her what was taken. Her transformation is not a curse, it's a grief ritual. Ancient and cruel. As she hovers above, shards of ice rain down. To defeat her, you must use the ball and chain to reflect ice crystals. It's heart-wrenching because you're attacking an innocent person possessed by dark magic. When she reverts and tearfully thanks you, it leaves a lasting, bittersweet chill. But the sadness remains. The manor does not rejoice, it sighs. The snow outside falls heavier, as if trying to bury the truth again. Snowpeak Ruins are not haunted by ghosts, they are haunted by memories that refuse to die. We've reached the halfway point, and man, are we sure these games are actually rated E for everyone? The next one is the Forest Temple from Ocarina of Time, my all-time favorite game. Looking back, should kids even be playing this? This is the first dungeon you tackle after becoming adult Link, and it sets the tone for the rest of the game. Unlike the airy atmosphere of the Kokiri forest, the temple is not a place of nature. It is a place where nature died screaming. Hidden deep within the sacred forest meadow, the temple stands like a rotting carcass of civilization, swallowed by vines that do not grow, but strangle. The air is thick, not with mist, but with memory. Something happened here, something that the forest itself is trying to forget. Inside, your first objective is to hunt down the Post Sisters, Meg, Joelle, Beth, and Amy. They are not mere ghosts. They are fragments of a single soul, shattered by betrayal and bond to the temple by grief. Each one relives her death endlessly, trapped in portraits that bleed when you stare too long. Their laughter is not playful, it's mocking, echoing through the halls like broken glass. They steal the flames from Central Hall. They giggle and vanish into paintings, forcing you to solve puzzles to coax them out. Each sister has a unique quirk. One spins the hallway, another teleports. The layout is intentionally confusing. With rotating rooms and hidden passages, you finally recover the flames, then descend into the depths. The dungeon's boss is Phantom Ganon. He doesn't walk, he emerges, crawling from the paintings like a memory trying to escape. He is not a mere illusion, he is a failed resurrection, a shadow of Ganondorf's will. Stitched together from fear and hatred, his laughter is the sound of 1,000 broken promises. When he rides towards you, it's not an attack, it's a warning. A spectral version of Ganondorf who rides his steed through paintings. He emerges from portraits, throws magic at you, then retreats. The only way to defeat him is to reflect his energy back with your sword. The eerie music, the thunderstorm overhead, and the sensation of being watched make this battle unforgettable. After defeating Phantom Ganon, you realize it didn't cleanse the temple, it only silences it. For now. You learn that your childhood friend Saria is the Forest Sage. She entrusts you with the Forest Medallion, turning a dark, creepy experience into a touching moment of growth. As Link leaves, the wind rustles the leaves outside, but the trees do not sway, they listen. The Forest Temple is quiet again, but quiet is not peace, it's waiting. The Forest Temple blends horror with heart. That balance is why it's ranked 5th. At number 4 is another Twilight Princess entry, the Arbiter's Grounds. This dungeon is an ancient prison in the heart of the Gerudo Desert, where the wind howls like mourning spirits and the sand never settles, a structure that was never meant to be found again. The Arbiter's Grounds, once a place of judgment, now stands as a monument to forgotten cruelty, where the worst criminals of Hyrule were executed. This was no temple, it was an execution chamber. The place has been abandoned and reclaimed by undead spirits. Link and Midna arrive, seeking the Mirror of Twilight. The pole lanterns flicker with more than fire, each one containing a fragment of a soul, torn from its body and forced to wander the halls, searching for justice that never came. Their laughter is hollow, their eyes empty. They don't attack out of malice, they attack because they are hungry for release. Immediately, the posts steal the torches that light the main chamber and vanish into the dark. In wolf form, you have to track their scent and pull their souls out, one by one, while avoiding traps and re-deaths. The darkness is thick, and the only safe path is the faint glow left by the post footprints. At the heart of the prison lies Death's Sword, a cursed executioner whose blade never dueled. Bound by chains and rage, it awakens not to fight, but to finish what it started. Its roar is the sound of 1,000 final breaths. Its eyes burn with fury of a soul denied peace. He flies through the air swinging a giant blade. The fight is disorienting because you constantly switch between wolf and human forms. Your reward? The spinner. The spinner is a device not of heroism, but of torment. It's theorized that it was once used to stretch the condemned, their bodies pulled across the gears until their screams became part of the machinery. Now Link rides it, unknowingly retracing the path of suffering. The spinner lets you ride rails bit into the dungeon walls. It becomes crucial when you face the boss, Star-Lord. Star-Lord is a skeletal dragon resurrected by Zant. The fight takes place on a massive disc surrounded by quicksand. You ride the spinner around the outer ring, launching yourself at Star-Lord's spine to shatter his neck. Then the second phase turns the vertical tower itself into a rail track. It's terrifying and exhilarating simultaneously. When Link defeats it, the silence is deafening. The Arbiter's grounds are not satisfied. They never are. They wait for their next soul to wander in, to judge, to punish. Arbiter's ground is memorable because it mixes horror tropes, like haunted prisons, undead spirits, guillotines with unique mechanisms like the spinner. It's not just fear for fear's sake, it's fear used to heighten the thrill of progression. That's why it lands at number 4. On to number 3, the Earth Temple from the Wind Waker. I'm going to be honest guys, and don't judge me. I've never played the Wind Waker. I know. So you're probably wondering, if I never played, why is it on this list? Well, I've seen gameplays, if that counts. Just roll with it. The Earth Temple was never meant to be a sanctuary, it was a prison, carved into the stone by ancient hands trembling with fear. The walls whisper with the voices of the dead, their chants echoing in a language long lost, vibrating through the bones of anyone who dares enter. This dungeon is hidden behind a heavy stone slab on Headstone Island and can only be moved if Link has the power bracelets. The temple itself is a labyrinth of crypts filled with undead enemies. Its guardians, the Redeads, are not mere undead, they are cursed monks, twisted by centuries of silence and sorrow. Their screams are not cries of attack, but wails of eternal torment, begging for release that will never come. When they freeze you with their gaze, it's not magic, it's the weight of despair, dragging your soul towards theirs. There's a purple mist that prevents you from using items in certain rooms, forcing you to rely on Medley. Her heart trembles in her hands, not from fear, but from recognition. She has been here before, in another life, another form. The temple remembers her, it calls to her, and as she sings, the walls pulse, as if the stone itself is breathing in her melody. One of the core mechanics is reflecting light with mirrors. You control both Link and Medley, positioning them to bounce beams across the room, burn away cursed fog, and animate stone statues. Midway through, you fight 3 staff foes simultaneously. You obtain the Mirror Shield, which empowers you to reflect light on your own. The final boss is Jahala, a giant Poe who splits into smaller Poes when you attack. You have to use the mirror to blind him, pick him up, and throw him into spikes. His laugh is haunting, and the way he collapses is unsettling. The Earth Temple stands out because of its heavy reliance on sound and light, combined with the creepy undead and oppressive purple mist. It's simultaneously a puzzle and a horror story, which is why it earns the bronze medal on this list. I do plan to play it eventually. When I do, I'm gonna make YouTube videos of my first playthroughs so you guys can see my reaction when I play it. So stay tuned for that. The runner-up is a dungeon that I still feel disturbed playing it alone. The Stone Tower Temple from Majora's Mask. To even reach it, Link must climb a massive tower of blocks in the desolate land of Ikana Canyon. The land around it is broken, dry, and full of bones. The Ikana Kingdom is dead, its people were silenced long ago, and yet you still hear silent whispers and weeping like a curse that clings to this place. Once inside, the temple seems straightforward. until you defeat the mini-boss Garo Master, which then rewards you with the light arrows, which you use to press a button. Once pressed, the whole thing flips upside down. The tower is upside down yet upright, a mockery of order, gravity, and life. Suddenly, your understanding of gravity, direction, and puzzles is turned on its head. You re-enter rooms that you previously cleared. When you walk inside, you feel it, the sense that you have stepped into a world not meant for you. Reality tears open like paper, but now the floor is the ceiling. Water flows upward, enemies hang from the ground, and switches that were unreachable are now right beside you. The design is brilliant and disorienting. The atmosphere in Ikana Canyon and Stone Tower is already eerie. The desert environment, it is littered with undead soldiers, and the music is a mournful choir. You can feel the sorrow of a fallen kingdom permeating every stone. This place is also connected to the lore of Majora's Mask. It is said the tower was built in defiance of the gods. The boss, Twin Mode, consists of two giant serpent-like creatures. The fight is more epic than terrifying, but combined with the madness of the upside-down temple and the desolate lore, it leaves an impact. It's this combination of mechanical innovation and haunting vibe that earns the Stone Tower Temple the number 2 slot. Also been drowned. The scariest dungeon in all of Zelda is a 2-part nightmare. I'm sure you saw it coming. The bottom of the well and the Shadow Temple from Ocarina of Time. Kakariko Village hides an old well. As young Link, you must play the Song of Storms, draining the water and descending into a vast void. A place that feels like a torture chamber. In the bottom of the well, it'll take you deeper into the grave of Hyrule's history. This is where you'll face your first fear, Dead Hand. A mass of pulsating flesh with arms that sprout from the ground. It is truly a horrifying design, a living nightmare more like. Bursting from the floor, it grabs you, clutching at your legs and dragging you down. Once defeated, you'll get the Lens of Truth, an item that reveals invisible walls and enemies. Most of the horrors here, you can't see without the Lens of Truth. The dungeon is nothing but lies and illusions, hiding the death behind a veil. Without it, you might walk right into spikes or fall through floors. The real terror comes later. When you return as adult Link to the Shadow Temple, they say it's not just a dungeon, it's a tomb for secrets. A place built to bury the sins of a kingdom that pretends to be pure. It gathers the bloody history of greed and hatred of Hyrule. The moment you step inside, the air feels heavy. The flickering torches barely fight the darkness. The walls are stained red. The guillotines still swing, rusted and reminiscing of every scream that was silenced there. Still sharp enough to take your head. The spikers rise like hungry teeth. They did not just kill here, they tortured. You must rely on the Lens of Truth to navigate rooms and avoid pitfalls. The designers intentionally placed hidden hands that drop from the ceiling and drag you back to the entrance. This used to always scare the shit out of me as a kid. The music is a collection of chants and moans, making you uneasy at every turn. Early in the temple, you fight Dead Hand again to obtain the hover boots. The coolest boots in the game. Later, you face Bongo Bongo, an execution victim, dismembered and decapitated during Hyrule's dark history. The boss arena is a giant drum, which plays a hollow beat made by 2 pale severed hands. You balance while using the Lens of Truth to see Bongo Bongo's body. He slaps the drum, shakes you off balance, and tries to choke you with its hands. The imagery is disturbing. The hands are severed and full of stitches, hinting at torture and execution. When you finally deliver the final blow, the hands fall limp and the spirit dissolves, leaving behind a feeling of relief mixed with discomfort. But ask yourself one question. How many of these bones belong to the innocent? Bongo Bongo doesn't kill you because it hates you. It kills because that's all it remembers. Why do these 2 areas top the list? It's not just the enemies or puzzles, it's the lore behind them. The Shadow Temple and the bottom of the well are hints that Hyrule's past isn't as noble as we thought. They suggest torture chambers and mass graves. The game forces you to confront hidden darkness underneath the kingdom's heroic legends. It is this narrative revelation, combined with the oppressive atmosphere and the relentless fear, that solidifies them as the scariest Zelda dungeons. And there you have it, the 10 dungeons that still haunt me to this day. Alright, jokes aside, if you made it this far, you are officially braver than me. Thank you so much for sticking with me until the end. Your support truly means the world to me. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, it helps more than you know. If you think there's any dungeons that I didn't put on here that should have been on here, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear, and I'd also love to hear which dungeon terrified you the most. So share your thoughts in the comments below, and leave a like if you want more creepy Zelda content. I read every comment, I promise. You guys are the reason I keep making these videos. Thank you so much again for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay courageous, take care friends.